Last night I went to the WWE Live event in Glasgow. The road to Royal Rumble begins there. And we got to see Drew McIntyre make his first entrance as the new WWE Champion. So the day started off as any other event would. We just woke up, had enjoyed our morning, and then we drove down to Glasgow. Of course, we are based here in Edinburgh, so we drove through, it's about an hour, over an hour. We had a little short walk from the Hydro to the city centre. It's really not that far. And then we met up with some friends. We went to this awesome pancake place that serves basically only pancakes, which is crazy to me. And then we had some pretty good food and exchanged some late Christmas gifts, and it was very nice to see our friends. With that, we walked back to the venue. It was a little bit darker, and then we joined the queue. So if you look at the car park from the Hydro, there's this bridge that takes you over to the building itself, and you can actually get a little glimpse behind the scenes as well. So I didn't get much of that bridge or the behind the scenes stuff, but there's this little car park area behind the building where like WWE can put all their production trucks and stuff. When we were there for Clash, there was so many production trucks, satellite trucks for obviously like the TV aspect of it, but with this being a live event, there wasn't much there. There was a coach there as we were pulling in. Who knows who was on it? So thankfully the weather was okay. You know, me and Jane, we were kicking about outside, having a bit of fun, talking about, listening to what other people were saying. There was this really cute kid behind us when we were waiting in queue, and he was saying like, "Oh, is this the beginning of the WWE Championship tournament?" And Dad was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And I'm just like, I'm biting my tongue saying like, "No, sorry kid, it's not that kind of event." But I remember when I went to my first live event back in 2006, that was me. I remember being so excited, and because that's kind of what the whole WWE is for, right? The show is put on for them, not for me. I'm an oldie, you know, you do it for the kids, so they like me grow up watching wrestling and then get their kids into it. So anyway, this kid was saying, "Oh, the one person I love more than anyone in the world, and I know he's going to be there tonight, is Michael Cole." I was like, bro, you are like a 6-year-old kid who likes Michael Cole. But also, Michael Cole won't be there tonight because it's a live event. Because it's a live event, and Michael Cole doesn't work live events. So shout out to that kid. I hope he was okay with Byron. So yeah, we were ushered about the queue quite a bit. The queue was actually okay. The Hydro has this new security measure outside of the building, which was relatively smooth. It was actually okay. It wasn't too bad, to be honest. And the weather was good as well. And weirdly enough, I didn't get a good picture of it. I only got a picture when we got in the building, but outside of the Hydro was this one random like amusement ride with lights in the air and stuff. I don't know what was going on there. So yeah, that was really random. Anywho, we get into the building and it is packed. If you've ever been to the Hydro has a merch stand at the front door, and it's right at the front door. So literally, as you try and get into the building, there's queues, massive amounts of queues of people waiting to get merch at the front door. There are other merch stands to the sides, but nobody ever uses them because it's the first thing they see when they walk into the door. And literally, like as we were going through the building trying to find our seats, the tannoy system that was going through the building was saying like, you know, the merch stand is going to be open for the entire event, so you don't have to get your merch now. You can come back later and get it or whatever else. But yeah, people just absolutely just flocked to that front door merch stand, and it is just horrendous. So it's always been my complaint of the Hydro, and it was really bad at Clash at the Castle because obviously it was so busy and so popular. Everyone wanted to get merch at that kind of show, so I guess this wasn't too bad, but yeah, it was pretty hard to navigate just getting in the door and then trying to figure out where to go from there because the queues were just massive. So we eventually get into the building. I go into another door, not quite where I was sat, just because I wanted to see what the building looked like, and you can see in the video, the setup is really nice. It's your typical WWE Live setup. It's small overhead lighting, the small live event stage with the lights on the floor, with the tech desk at the sides, and the just the live event setup. Nothing crazy, but just enough to give you that live event or that WWE style experience where you're still getting the light show, you're still getting the cool entrances. It just isn't as elaborate or expansive as your typical kind of WWE show nowadays. So So I don't know if you've ever been to a live event, but if you have, you'll know that there is quite a bit of waiting around. We got into the show probably about 6 o'clock, and the first bell wasn't until 7:30. And to be fair, the time flew by pretty quickly because, you know, you're kind of walking around, you might get drinks, you might get food, you might get merch. We were trying to find the toilet. That was one of the things that we were doing as well. And then, yeah, like you're just trying to get around the place. And then when you eventually get in your seat on the actual stage, or if your building has screens above the ring, they will play YouTube videos for you to watch. So in our case, they normally show like the recent top 10 videos from the last week of wrestling. So like, for example, we got to see the top moments from Raw and the top moments from SmackDown, NXT. And then there's one that they published today, the top 10 title defenses from CM Punk or something. And like, it was weird because I saw that in the building yesterday, but it only got published on YouTube today. So I guess I got to see that early, which is kind of cool. I guess silver linings, I suppose. So when the show started, the absolute coolest thing happened. So Byron Saxton comes out and he's riling up the crowd. And he's like, oh, just so you know, if you want to get on the screen, you can do that by posting a tweet and calling it hashtag WWE Glasgow. Now, I knew they were going to do that because I've already done this before. I've done this at other shows, and I've been to the Hydro before. I've been to the Hydro loads of times throughout the years for wrestling events. So I knew they were going to do the pictures on the screen with the hashtag. So I got ahead of it, and I posted a tweet. It was me and my fiance Jane saying that we were recently engaged and we're here at wrestling and we're going to enjoy the show. I put it up on Twitter, and no shit, Byron Saxton called it out. I wish I had a video of it. It was so awesome. But literally, like, I just heard him, like, me and Jane were just talking to the side while Byron, because I knew Byron was going to be waffling about merch or whatever, so I was literally talking to Jane, and I literally just heard in a delay in my ear, oh, congratulations to Garrett M on the recent engagement. And me and Jane flipped our shit. We absolutely, like, lost every sensibility in our mind. And I was like, that's us. And we were literally like, it was so cool. And the people around us as well, they were so happy for us. The people next to us were like, oh my God, congratulations on your engagement. Dude, it was so cool. So, like, Byron, you might never see this, but thank you so much. Honestly, that absolutely made our day. You're invited to the wedding. I used to be a Byron hater, but I've really come round to him recently. I love his interview styles recently and stuff, and doing that was the cherry on top. I'm a Byron Saxton fan for life now, so thank you so much, Byron. That was so cool. And then we move on to the actual show, you know, the actual real people who are there to wrestle and be cool and that. So Byron Saxton does his big countdown to the opening of the show. We get a cool light show because they don't really do pyro anymore at these shows anymore. And yeah, the show starts. It's very cool. And then he goes, the following contest is scheduled for one fall. And if you've ever been to a European wrestling show, usually the crowd will respond in turn by saying one fall. Our opening match for the show was the Yeetmeister main event, Jey Uso with his tag team title on his own, no Jimmy. But he was on his own against Finn Balor. Now, you might have actually seen this on Twitter already. Probably the biggest highlight of this match was the fact that Jey ran it back a few times and yeeted. And then Finn Balor went to go do it as well. He ran it back and he yeeted. And it was actually very funny. So after Finn Balor ran his yeet back and they kind of had a handshake, I think they two sweeted in the ring. I think that was pretty cool. Jey went to run it back again, doing the yeet thing, and then Finn attacked him, then making Finn the heel. He got lots of heat off that, and it was great. It was great that Finn had that moment of like really a good funny moment that the crowd were able to latch onto, but then also bringing us back into that heat mentality of like, hey, actually no, Finn's the bad guy. We should be booing him. It was good work. Ultimately, after a pretty good segment there, Jey got the spear and got the win, and we were back to eating like nothing ever happened. And it was awesome. It was a good opening match. Kudos to both of them. And yeah, Absolutely no notes. It was great. The next match on the card was the New Day. Now, the New Day took their sweet time on their entrance. I don't know how long it was, but I heard I'm pretty sure I heard the whole song. And I don't think I've ever heard the full theme song for the New Day. But literally, like, they were just going down the aisle, ripping up everyone's crowd signs. They were ripping kids' crowd signs, adults' crowd signs, and they went around the walkway was quite long, and they did it down the whole walkway, and then around the ring as well. So, like, they were thorough. And then when they got on the apron, they were posing, and they just refused to get in the ring. They just were not getting in the ring. They were just taking their sweet time. But they were going up against the somewhat newly formed and former tag team champions of Dragon Lee and AJ Styles. Now, Dragon Lee I'm not the biggest fan of, I have to admit, but he is very cool to see live. Seeing AJ Styles especially is also very, very special. Now, last time we saw AJ Styles at Clash, he was in the main event, or a main event, against Cody Rhodes in an I Quit match. So it was cool to see AJ Styles again with that context. However, it did hit me during the match that this was the only WWE show in Glasgow this year, and this is AJ Styles' last year. So that will have been his last wrestling match in Glasgow. And, you know, it's not a wrestling classic, it's nothing special, but I'm a little somber at the fact that that would be the last time I get to see AJ Styles wrestle, even though I've only really seen him twice. It's a surreal thinking experience that, like, that's the last time I'm potentially going to see AJ Styles. And that's kind of sad. Although, he won the match, and Dragon Lee won the match with their tag team finisher, where Dragon Lee does the drop kick on the ropes into the Styles Clash. So very cool that we did get to see the Styles Clash. In fact, even Jane came around, like, Jane has been watching WWE, but she hasn't really seen their tag run. So she turned around to me and she was like, dude, that finishing move is so cool. And I have to agree. I think it's very cool. Up next, we have a card subject to change, which is a little rare for these kind of events. The website for the Hydro listed the match as the tag team champions Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair versus the Kabuki Warriors. However, if you've seen Raw this week, then you'll know that Charlotte and Alexa are no longer the tag team champions. So that meant that this match was either going to change to Rhea and Io versus the Kabuki Warriors, or they were going to kind of just do the match without the tag belts or something. What actually ended up happening was that Kairi Sane came out with Asuka at ringside, but Kairi was only facing Alexa Bliss. So very cool to see Alexa. I'm maybe not the biggest fan of Alexa, I just don't understand the hype personally. But regardless, again, very, very cool to see these people live, and they did put on a pretty good match. It was just a bit odd to not see Charlotte. I'm guessing that's maybe part of the storyline that they're playing out right now, that Charlotte seems to have left Alexa, even though, especially after just losing the titles. I'm not sure I caught it on camera, but the finish of the match was Alexa Bliss hitting the Sister Abigail, or whatever her finisher is. I can't remember what it's called, but it's that Sister Abigail where she hooks in the DDT. She nailed Kairi with it, got the pin, celebrate with the crowds, and it was good fun. After that, we had a huge 8-man tag team contest. This was awesome. It was the MFTs with Solo Sikoa at ringside, and of course the Wyatt Six. Now, what a strange match to put on the live event circuit, because it's one that's actively happening on TV. It's one that's going to lead to a potential pay-per-view match as well. But even so, I love the continuity here of Solo Sikoa coming out with MFTs with the lantern that he just stole on the episode of SmackDown 2 days prior. And I love that kind of continuity. Even in the live events, where the live events don't really happen, they're not real necessarily, I do appreciate that Solo came out with the lantern. And yeah, it was just cool to see the MFTs and the Wyatt Six. I have to say though, the Wyatt Six entrance is very cool live. It's very strange because obviously on TV, the colors are made in a very specific way that the arena looks very dark. But when you're actually there in the building, I was saying to my fiance that, like, the light from people's phones actually lights up the building really well. And even besides that, there are lights during the entrance. So when, you know, from the overhead lighting above the ring, there are flashing lights going about the arena and stuff. So there is like a full light show. You can actually see things going on. But yeah, the entrance is very cool. Not quite what you'd expect from watching it on TV, because I guess your eyes also adjust to the darkness so you can see more in the dark. But anyway, regardless, the match was good. I was dying for a pee at this point, so I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to go to the toilet. And there's no reflection on the talent in the ring. It was just that, like, I just knew the toilets would be quiet, so I was like, all right, this is the best time to go. So when I came back, I managed to catch the end of the match, which was the Wyatt 6 getting the win. I think it was Uncle Howdy who got the win. But yeah, Uncle Howdy got the win, but Solo Sikoa somehow managed to get away, which means that he still has the lantern, and the Wyatts are still lanternless. One really funny moment that happened is Nikki Cross, who's currently playing a version of Sister Abigail, ran Byron Saxton around the ring multiple times for a long time. And it was very funny. I don't know why they were chasing each other. I have no idea what was going on, but it was very funny. And by the way, Nikki, if you ever touch my guy Byron again, I will. That leads us to our first half main event, which of course is the new WWE champion making his first entrance as the new WWE champion, Drew McIntyre, in his hometown, home country no less, of Glasgow, going up against Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, before I get on to Drew, because it was such an awesome moment, seeing Shinsuke live is always a cool experience. I was saying this to Jane, who knows who Shinsuke is through WWE, but doesn't know who she is through New Japan. And I'm always in awe. The first time I saw Shinsuke was back in a 2018 live event, I believe, and he was facing Jeff Hardy. And I was like, you know, my friend Oos, we call him Oos, he was astounded by seeing Jeff Hardy live. And I was just in awe of seeing Shinsuke Nakamura, because I was like, Shinsuke is a living legend. If you watch his WWE run, you wouldn't have thought so. But genuinely, Shinsuke is so cool. And I just think it's so awesome getting to see him live and work in that kind of environment, have a bit of fun. Drew, obviously, such a special moment, coming home with the WWE title, finally after years of chasing that title and finally being able to bring it home is so special, I'd imagine, for him. It's special for us in the building. We were so excited to see him. So his entrance was unbelievable. It was so long. The crowd was so hyped. They were so loud. Elements of it have been posted to social media through WWE's Twitter and Instagram accounts as well, which is awesome to see. Like, they were fully recognizing the fact that this is such a special moment. One little detail that I really liked as well, probably no one picked up on this, but the fact that Shinsuke left the ring to give Drew his moment is so respectful as well. That's so honorable, I guess. Shinsuke leaving the ring, allowing Drew to have his moment, is it's just a wrestling kind of handshake. It's just so respectful. But yeah, Drew spent a lot of time in the ring, soaking up the crowd. I think we heard his song quite a few times on loop, and yeah, the place was just erupting. Admittedly, when the bell rang, I think the crowd calmed down a little bit. I think we were just watching the match, and it is no diss to Drew, but I think the crowd were a lot quieter during the match. Maybe they were just tired from his entrance and stuff, but either way, they put on a hell of a match. There were lots of like false finishes. It was actually kind of a proper title match, which if you've ever been to a live event, you know that they kind of scale back a lot of the matches. They tend not to do big bumps, they tend not to do big dives, they tend not to do big spots. But here, Drew and Shinsuke were kicking about doing, you know, big driver suplexes, and there was a bit there. I think there was a bit of fighting outside the ring. They threw each other into the barricades and stuff, and there was a bit of top rope action as well. I think Drew did his spot where he's upside down on the ropes and he pulls himself up and throws the guy. Yeah, there was a lot of really cool spots, and also both their finishers line up really well, because both their finishers involve running towards the other person and hitting them with a big move. So obviously you've got the Kinshasa with Nakamura, who hits that kind of bomb knee, and then Drew is hitting the Claymore kick, was that big drop kick. And yeah, it was just awesome because they were able to play around with that a lot. There were so many times when they're running towards each other, and me and the guys around me and then in my section, you can hear them saying, oh my god, the finish is going to happen, this is going to happen, it's going to happen, and it never did. And it's that's the whole point of wrestling, is that the match builds to the crescendo, and the crescendo being the finisher. And it was a masterclass. It was a really good wrestling match, and genuinely, kudos to Drew and Shinsuke for putting on a hell of a match on a live event. And then afterwards, Drew cut an amazing promo and even got the credit. He even mentioned the worst moment in his career, which we all know about. He mentioned the fact that he sang in the ring with Tyson Fury, which was horrendous. It overran and it was ugly. He knows that, we know that, but he said that he wanted to make up for it today by getting the crowd to sing along with him, and he got the crowd to sing Flower of Scotland, which was such an awesome, patriotic, proud moment, and I've never been prouder to be Scottish.
Flower of Scotland, when the lakes again, the fought and died for. Against who?
But yeah, the intermission's always shorter than you think. I don't know why. I always thought it was like half an hour or something. It's like 10 minutes. It's really short. And it's weird that they do intermission for live shows, but I guess it's just a way of kind of selling more merch. But like I said, the intermission is really short. It's just a quick break. But it did lead into a surprise match, because at this point I was like, maybe there's only 2 matches left. So our next match on the card was Liv Morgan versus Lyra Valkyria. Now, the crowd wasn't so hot for this match. I don't know if maybe they were still kind of like eating their food from the intermission, or just weren't vibing with the match. But Liv got a pretty decent response from the crowd. She was flanked alongside Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. There was a little bit of shenanigans in the match, but Lyra wasn't really getting much reaction from the crowd, which is interesting, to say the least. The finish of the match involved Raquel and Roxanne getting involved and then getting ejected from the ring. Lyra was at the ropes telling them to leave, and then as she turned around, she got hit with the Oblivion. 1, 2, 3, job's done. Raquel and Roxanne then promptly came back to the ring, even though they were literally just ejected. But it was a pretty good finish, to be fair. So yeah, Liv Morgan left really quickly. She got carried out by Raquel, and Lyra stayed for a long time. Like, her music was playing for a long time, and then she was like shaking hands, kissing babies with the crowd, going all around the ring, up the aisleway. And I'm just sitting there going, the crowd wasn't popping for her. The crowd wasn't overly into her. And then she took like a New Day, New Day's entrance was like 4 or 5 minutes long. And here's Lyra kicking about for ages. And I was like, if anyone's going to be spending time around the ring, I wouldn't have expected it to be Lyra. I would have expected it to be someone like AJ Styles or Drew McIntyre or something. Anyway, all that old man ranting aside, that takes us to our semi-main event, which was the Ring General Gunther up against the underdog, supposedly, Sami Zayn. Now, this was actually an amazing match as well. Gunther did a lot of his good, cool, usual wrestling shit. Sami as well, very good at playing that kind of underdog mentality of like going into the match and maybe kind of scoping it out at first and then starting to prey on the weaknesses as the match goes on. It did occur to me during the match as well that this was a WrestleMania main event, or not a main event, but it was a WrestleMania match. The two of them had faced at WrestleMania XL for the Intercontinental Championship, and I was like, this is interesting that we're getting to see this live. Needless to say, after lots of chopping, lots of fighting, lots of kicking, there was this really cool moment in the match as well when Gunther goes to do the John Cena segment of moves, the 5 moves of doom, which was really cool. So he goes for, I think he went for the back suplex, but maybe not. Either way, he went for the 5-knuckle shuffle, but Sami would reverse it into that shoulder block and then go on to do the 5-knuckle shuffle, and even hitting Gunther with a pretty good FU, or an attitude adjustment. So that was awesome, that the fact that like Cena's legacy's been carried on through these two guys into the live event circuit as well. And yeah, the crowd was well into it as well. The crowd were very into the fact that they got to say, "You can't see me," and stuff like that. So that was good fun. Ultimately though, Gunther locked in the sleeper hold multiple times. Sami was able to get out of it quite a few times, but Gunther then made Sami tap out, and that got the win. Now, even though the crowd were chanting, "You tapped out," it didn't matter. Gunther got the win. He left promptly, but Sami was able to spend a little bit of time with the crowd, and have a bit of fun. And that takes us to our main event being a World Heavyweight Championship match against CM Punk and Bronson Reed. Now, the website had this match listed as Bronson Reed with Braun Breaker at ringside, but Braun was nowhere to be seen, so I had assumed perhaps that maybe we would get a run-in interference, but instead it was actually just a regular match. There was no shenanigans about. I have to say though, credit to Punk. Punk was bumping in this match. You know, as I said before with live event matches, you typically get less bumps. They scale back the amount of work that they do for these live events so they don't get injured, but they still give you a great match. They just do different things. But here, Punk was just bumping. Like, he was taking massive power slams, massive scoop slams, all those like jumping moves that Bronson does when he like jumps on you, or he does his massive elbow drop, and like all those just crazy moves where you feel squished. All of them happened. So Bronson got basically all of his moveset in except the tsunami. And Punk was still got a lot of his moves in. He got the Shining Wizard and stuff, and he was doing a lot of offense. But yeah, it was a bit of a slower match for sure. I think Bronson was on the offense for most of it, and I think by we were kind of starting to fade. It was 10:30. We were starting to kind of fade. We were pretty tired. Ultimately, the match culminated in this big segment on the top rope where Bronson was going for the tsunami multiple times, but Punk was stopping him over and over again. It then led to Punk hitting a massive superplex, and that got the win. Again, case in point, a superplex probably would never win a match on a normal WWE TV match, but here we are in a live event. Perhaps Punk didn't want to GTS Bronson, perhaps he can't, I don't know. But either way, this superplex from the top rope got Punk the win, which sent the crowd home happy. Punk stayed for a long time, celebrating with the fans, taking lots of pictures, kissing babies, somebody handed him a photo book. I don't know what that's all about, but that was cool. But yeah, he was giving signatures and stuff. So that ended the show. That was the entire show. Overall, I have to say, I really, really, really enjoyed the show. It wasn't anything like crazy. I mean, we were definitely treated to some awesome stuff. Like, we got to see Jey Uso's entrance. We got to see the Wyatt Six entrance. We got to see Drew in his hometown with the belt, singing Flower of Scotland, which is so cool. We got to see Nakamura. We got to see Gunther, Sammy, Punk with the title. Like, it was a really good show, and we were kind of treated. AJ Styles as well. God, how could I forget that? Like, genuinely awesome show, and it flowed really well. Like, the matches, none of the matches were too long. They were all quite interesting. They got the crowd hyped. Like, yeah, I mean, there was nothing wrong. There was one really drunk guy behind us who was shouting really random, horrible stuff towards the end of the show. He did have one really funny crowd reaction though, which was when Nakamura was out. He was just absolutely screaming at the top of his lungs, "Tanahashi's better!" And I thought that was the funniest shit ever, considering Tanahashi just retired. But with that, we got out of the building and promptly got back to the car park, got home, and yeah, very happy to be home. It was a long day, but ultimately we got to see an awesome WWE show, and I'm very happy that not only that me and my fiance got to go see the show, but also we did get a shout out from Byron Saxton, which honestly, like, of everything that happened, that is just the coolest shit ever. So let me know in the comments down below, have you ever been to a WWE live event and did you enjoy it? Now obviously these live events are so different from pay-per-views, PLEs, whatever you want to call them. The live events are just completely different, a completely different experience. Like, they're non-canon, they have a lot of fun. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, you have so much fun at these live events that you wouldn't normally have at a PLE, but the trade-off is that obviously going to a PLE means that you're going to see pretty special moments as well. So either way, do you prefer PLEs over live events? I personally prefer live events, but let me know in the comments what you think. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing because it helps push the channel out to as many people as possible. With that being said, that is us for today. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.